Hey guys, Mark here. In this video, I'm going to be going over how winning products are a lie. Yes, that's right. You have been fed a lie by all these gurus on YouTube telling you that you're just one winning product away, that you can mess up everything else. You could have terrible ads, a terrible store, terrible funnel, terrible strategy, terrible. But if you have a winning product, then you can magically make hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars. That's the idea that they have fed you. And up until this point, you've probably believed it. But as you probably tell by the title of this video, that is a fucking lie. Now, how did this all start, right? Because you don't just make up lies like this randomly. Well, like most lies, there's some element of truth in there. And the element of truth is, yes, there are some products that are literally so perfect that you could screw up everything else to the worst possible degree and still make money. But those are products that are unicorns. Those are like 1 out of every 1,000 products. But if you think of the dropshipping market, right, there's hundreds of thousands, millions of people that know what dropshipping is. So just by the law of large numbers, you're going to have a lot of success stories come about through this strategy. But it's not a strategy that you'd want to have yourself, because I don't know about you guys, but that's straight up gambling. And I'm not a gambling man. I like putting the odds in my favor, and 1 out of 1,000 is not very good chances. People are convinced of this lie that as long as you have the perfect product, then everything else will just magically fall into place. So then you just get brainwashed into this stupid philosophy. Every time you test a new product and it doesn't work, you're just told, oh, it's the product. Just test again. Just test another, just test another, just test another, until eventually either you go broke or you finally somehow hit the lottery and get literally extremely lucky and actually make some money. That's literally the process that most people preach. They say you just test the product, you're not profitable immediately, then you immediately just blame the product, and guess what? You just start the cycle right over again, back to step one, and get back to testing products. But as you know, this is not the best way of going about things. If you're still using the strategy like it's 2017, then you're just not gonna make it. You have to adapt. You have to use a new, better strategy that actually puts the odds in your favor. Because the truth is, like, if you take a step back, the 30,000 foot view, when you look at e-commerce in general, and you look at what it takes to be successful, it's not like 99% of your success is just finding that winning product. If you go into other businesses, by the way, the whole concept of a winning product, it's just not a thing. I hope you know that. There's businesses out there where they can't just jump from product to product and just search new shit on AliExpress to sell on Facebook ads. They just can't do this. They have their own business. They already have a line of product. They can't just go test random shit. What do? How do they make Facebook ads work, right? How do they become profitable? The winning product term is just a term that was invented specifically for the dropshipping space. Okay, so here's the truth of the matter. Actually succeeding in e-com doesn't come down to only the product. It's a combination of things. And so what I want to ask you, the real question that you need to ask yourself anytime you go to test a new product is not, is this product going to be a winner? Should I test this product? The question you should be asking yourself is, what am I competing on? Now, if you're a total noob, then you actually could be competing on the product, right? That is something that you could actually compete on, but it's definitely not the best thing that you could be competing on. You could also be competing on, for example, your funnel. If you have a really well-designed funnel that is converting people 2 to 3 times at a higher rate compared to all your competition. Maybe your competition is running a funnel with a 3% conversion rate and you're at, let's say, 5% or 6%, right? Very high, very above average. Or maybe you're competing on your ads, right? Maybe the video ads, the image ads, the statics, whatever you're using are just so much better. They leverage direct response marketing so much better. They have phenomenal hooks. And that is actually how you turn a product into a successful product. Maybe that's what you're competing on. Or maybe you're competing on angles. Maybe you actually take one of those quote unquote saturated products, which, little hint, those also are just a total myth, and you simply sell it using a different marketing angle. You sell it to a different group of people. Instead of just selling a, let's say, skincare product, you sell a skincare product that's specifically relating to African American women over the age of 40. You just carved out a new segment of the market that is specifically speaking to a specific type of person. Yet, most people aren't taught this. Most people are only taught that the only way to actually be successful is if you compete on the product. And so people just churn and burn product after product after product, lost money until either, once again, you go broke or you just completely give up or somehow you strike gold and actually end up making money. So here's the real reason why I'm making this video, okay? The whole process of finding a product, building a story, I have completely separate videos on each and every one of these concepts here that I have on my screen. But the reason that I'm making this one in particular is because when you do find a product and you actually start spending money on paid ads, if you're not immediately profitable, right? Like you spend money on ads, and if you're not immediately profitable, that's not a sign that it's a bad product. That's not a sign that it's a bad funnel, bad ads, or bad angles. All that is, when you spend money on ads, is you're not actually losing money. You're buying data. And the difference between those who are successful in e-com and those that never are able to make it is the successful ones realize this and they know how to read the data. You see, the data is actually telling you a fucking story. And if you know how to read it and you know how to read the numbers around it, then you can simply make adjustments to your funnel, to your product, to your ads, to your creatives, whatever, relaunch, and then boom, you're just immediately profitable after the relaunch. You're never wasting money. You're always just buying data. So what I recommend people to do is when you do actually find the product that you're gonna sell, which once again, I have several videos on that, but I want you to be launching 3 to 5 different creatives for this particular product, right? These could be image or video ads that you're running on TikTok, on Facebook, wherever you're really getting your traffic from, right? 3 to 5 creatives is what you want to start with. Each of these creatives should be tapping into a different angle. This could be simply a new scroll stopper, a new hook, something that differentiates the ads, because you kind of want to go with a little bit of a shotgun approach when you're just starting out, or else you're not going to know what actually works, what resonates with the market and what doesn't. If you just go with like the laser sniper shot, right? You want to start with a shotgun. All right, you guys want to know some real shit? Most of the things that you test in the ads manager in general fail. Most of the things that you test will always fail. The funnels will fail, the creatives will fail, the angles will fail. But there's going to be that 10% of the time, that 20% of the time where you actually do find something that works, that converts. And that is going to be the thing that actually takes you from 0 to 6 figures, or from 6 to 7, or from 7 to 8. But you'll never fucking get there if you don't actually test and continue to test and read the data and retest. Like, that is really what separates like the mediocre advertisers from the amazing ones, is they're okay with spending money, buying data, and just constantly retesting shit until they find something that actually works. So what I like to do, launch with 3 to 5 creatives, see what the data tells you, right? What is your CPC? What are your CPMs? What is your CTR? This is your ad side metrics, right? This is going to tell you if there's something wrong with your targeting, with your creatives, or with your angles, right? Let's say everything is within KPI there. Your CPC is under $1, phenomenal. CPMs under 20 bucks, CTR above 2%, great, right? You've got the green light. But unfortunately, your funnel is converting at 1%. That is now the main bottleneck. That is the main constraint, right? So you have ad side constraints, and then you also have funnel side constraints, which could be, for example, a very low AOV. It could be a very low CVR, conversion rate. It could be like a really high, I never look at this shit, but it could be a really high bounce rate, right? For example, if you have people that are not adding to cart. So one KPI that I look for is an add to cart percentage of at least 10%. So if 100 people actually land on your Shopify store, 10 of them should at least add to cart. And out of those 10, you should have at least 3 that go through and purchase, okay? If you have those KPIs, then you can tell, all right, I either have a funnel problem, which could be, something with my product page. It could be a technical error. Some people have technical errors with their payment processor and they don't realize that, oh, this is so weird. I have 300 initiate checkouts, but nobody's buying. Did you test buying it yourself? Like, a lot of people don't know that payment processors sometimes will put specific restrictions on your account before you launch, because you're a brand new advertiser, a brand new company. It's a high risk thing that you're doing right now. You need to go through and QC and test all your shit before you actually launch it, because it could literally just be a technical issue. So let's say that you do actually identify, okay, all the ad stats were good, but my conversion rate, my CVR was terrible, right? Anything under 3% is considered not very good. Of course, that's dependent on the price of your product, but let's just say 3%, right? So you run your ads, spend a few $100 and you see that, oh shit, my conversion rate is only 1%. I got to make some adjustments to my funnel. Specifically, my add to cart percentage is absolute dog shit. What that means, right, when I'm reading the data, is that I have to make a better sales page. People are resonating with the ads, they're resonating with the angles, but for some reason, nobody is adding it to cart, which means what you're probably getting is something called curiosity clicks. Curiosity clicks are people that just click on your ads out of curiosity, not because they have any intention of actually buying your product. So that's why a lot of these metrics need to be viewed in context, right? I have had, actually, in one of my most recent product tests, at a CTR of over 10%. Phenomenal. CPC under $1 in the United States, but the conversion rate was absolutely terrible. So maybe I was getting clicks that were not pre-qualified to see my landing page. I wasn't actually getting people that were interested in the product. I was just getting people that were just curious. And so my standard rule of thumb is I'm going to launch a product, 3 to 5 creatives. I'm going to read what the data tells me both on the funnel side and on the ad side. I'm going to look at all these variables here, product, funnel, ads, angles, everything. Sometimes it is a product, right? But I want to identify that with data. As soon as I identify what the real constraint is, then what do? I launch. I'm going to make adjustments to the funnel, to the ads, whatever the real constraint is. And then I'm going to relaunch with either new creatives or a new funnel in order to hone in, right? Because you start with the shotgun, you identify like the 1 out of 5, 1 out of 10 things that actually sticks, and then you relaunch with all of your spend going towards that one thing. I'm not saying like one creative, but maybe there's one specific angle that really resonated with your audience. You relaunch going all in on that angle. I'm talking about your landing page, your creatives, everything. Just relaunch going all in on that. Look, at any point in time, you are literally one winning ad away from completely changing your life, from changing your business, from changing your personal life, to making the most amount of money that you've ever made in your entire fucking life. You're one winning ad away. I can literally look back at my life and think of when my income went from here to here or from here to here, it was because I produced better ads. That was the only reason. And so your ability to create good ads is directly correlated to how much money you're gonna make. So with that said, why would you not learn how to actually read the data? Because when you do and you launch and almost everything fails, but that one thing that sticks, you actually double down and go harder on that on your relaunch, and then you actually start making money. This whole e-com thing starts to feel less like this complex puzzle and more like just a natural step-by-step process that's pretty easy to follow if you know how to fucking think. Winning products are not found, they are created. And this is the entire philosophy, by the way, that I teach inside my mentorship program called Brand Builders Academy. I own it with my partner, Alex. We've been doing it for years and years. We have a ton of results, probably the most results in the entire industry. I don't really know. But the reason that it's so good is because when you join, we literally assign you a coach to work with you one-on-one, a coach that already has a successful 6 or 7 e-com brand that he's running himself, so that you know you're getting the best quality information. So if you're interested, you can click the link below in the description and fill out a quick application. Other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on the next video. Peace.